This high-protein tikka masala has all the same appeal as your favorite takeout counterpart. It's warm, savory, and perfectly creamy. The main difference is this stuff is way higher in protein with about half the calories. A deal so good you might just fall to the floor. This is high-protein meal prep, and here is what you'll need. After petting the kitty, of course. Only a few simple ingredients are needed, along with some key spices that give the dish its signature flavor. Aside from the oil and butter, everything you see here contributes to a leaner tikka masala. Then there's this one ingredient which you might not expect. I'll explain later, but first I'm going to start by cutting up the aromatics. 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, peel, slice, and mince. I like to use a technique I showed in my recent quiche video. Check that out for a savory breakfast idea. You can also add a pinch of salt to your garlic, then crush it with the flat side of a knife between mincing. This helps turn the garlic into more of a paste thanks to the abrasive action of the salt. Next, about a 1.5 to 2 inch or 3.8 to 5 centimeter long piece of ginger. This one's a bit more than I like, but I'll deal. I quickly scrape off the thin skin using the edge of a spoon and slice it into thin planks. Oh, there's some dry spots in there, but I'll just cut those out. Then I take the spine of the knife and slice down along the grain of the ginger, much like I do with the garlic. Crushing down along the grain like this breaks apart the fibers and the root. Running it back over the root with the edge of my knife, again with the grain, allows me to finely slice it, and now against the grain yields finely minced ginger. Set aside. Next, I'll peel, slice, and mince a shallot for absolutely no reason. Set aside. Cilantro, washed and roughly chopped to fit neatly into a cute little dish for garnish later. Set aside. Garam masala. This spice blend is what gives tikka masala most of its signature flavor. 1 tablespoon, about 6 grams, along with a tablespoon or 6 grams of ground coriander. There's already paprika in this garam masala, but I love to add more, especially if it's smoked. 1 tablespoon or about 6 grams. 1 teaspoon, about 3 grams of turmeric. This adds color and an earthy flavor. Ground cumin, half a teaspoon or about 1 gram to up the savoriness. And 2 teaspoons, about 12 grams of salt. In goes the minced aromatics, and add about a tablespoon or 15 milliliters of olive oil to the mix to help carry the flavors, along with about 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters of water to form a paste. I may have added more than 1/4 cup, but it will still work for what I'm about to use it for. Chicken breast, 3 pounds or 1.4 kilograms of it. The exact amount doesn't matter too much. Chicken breast, as you already know, is incredibly lean, which allows me more control over the fat content of the dish. Of course, if you prefer a higher fat to protein ratio, chicken thighs would taste even better. I butterfly the breasts and slice to separate the halves. At this point, you could cut the breast however you'd prefer, but I like to slice them first into thin strips like so, and cut those strips into smaller pieces. Set aside in a large bowl. Now to that large bowl, I add nonfat Greek yogurt. Don't worry, there will be plenty of fat to come. About 1 cup or 230 grams of yogurt, along with about half the spice paste. And I mix to incorporate. Marinate the chicken from anywhere between 24 hours, covered and in the fridge of course, to however long it takes to start the rice. If you don't have a rice cooker or an instant pot, just follow the instructions on your pack of rice. For 6 servings, I'm adding 336 grams or about 1.5 cups of Jasmine rice to the Instant pot. And to get rid of all the surface level starch and reduce any potential heavy metals or pesticides, I wash my rice in warm water. Several changes. You can use a strainer even, until the water runs mostly clear. Dry off the outside of the pot and add in roughly 360 grams or 1.5 cups of water. I prefer to weigh it out because it's quicker and more precise. Toss the Instant pot into the Instant Pot. Seal the lid and set the pressure cook at normal on high pressure for 3 minutes. After the 3 minutes, I will let this naturally release for 10 minutes before opening the lid. While that's heating up, I will start on the sauce. Tomato sauce is the base. No hours of simmering tomatoes needed, just 1 15-ounce or 425 gram can of tomato sauce added to a large pot. In goes the rest of the spice paste as well. Nothing goes to waste, along with a veggie of my choosing. I prefer both cauliflower and peas in my masala, but this time just 225 grams or 8 ounces, roughly half of this 1 pound bag of frozen cauliflower. Turn the burner on to low, and as things heat up, the cauliflower will thaw and the additional water will help to thin out the sauce. Lid goes on to prevent splashing. By now, the chicken should be ready to cook. Pan down on medium heat, and I know, Maillard reaction, small batches, you need oil, blah blah blah. Look, although I will cook the chicken in batches, I am not doing so to get a nice browning on all of the meat. This is 3 pounds of chicken. It would take too long. But larger batches means more liquid in the pan and therefore less browning. True. But when the water evaporates, the marinade starts to brown the pan, about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and you can start to see that there's a lot of flavor building on the pan. That I will deal with momentarily. Adding the last of the chicken to the pot, stirring, and resetting the lid, I now turn my attention to the pan. Water to the glaze. I added about half a cup here before my camera went out.
Yeah, that didn't hurt at all.
This is where that secret ingredient comes in. Cream cheese. softened. This kind I found to be free of any added gums or preservatives, and even if I added this whole block, it would be fewer calories than what's in the amount of heavy cream that's typically used in this dish. About 3/4 of the block, 6 ounces or 170 grams, right into the now simmering water. I know this looks weird, but essentially what I'm doing is creating my own cream sauce while incorporating all the flavors from the pan. I just squish the block around, melting it into the water, and once it starts to look and feel too thick, I add the other half cup of water to the pan, making for a total of 1 cup of water. What I love about this technique is that I can have so much control over the thickness of the cream sauce. That should be good, smooth and creamy. Kill the heat. I'm not too worried about any remaining chunks as they will all melt down with this next step into the pot, wasting nothing. Mix around and now I have a beautifully orange, creamy, though still relatively watery sauce. At this point I like to toss in about 2 tablespoons or roughly 30 grams of butter, helps enrich the flavor. To thicken it up, I finished cooking the chicken. I'll crack the lid over the pot and let this simmer on low heat for around 10 to 15 minutes. I didn't forget about the rice, fluff, and add a squeeze of lemon juice and some salt to taste. After about 10 minutes of cooling down, the tikka masala has thickened to an absolutely perfect consistency. Serve with homemade naan or rice and top with cilantro. Creamy, savory, and incredibly addicting. You won't believe this high protein tikka masala isn't takeout.